Hello, beautiful souls. Welcome to the very first episode of Let's Talk About It. Remember, the last one you heard was just an introduction, but this is your first episode. If you want to call it episode 2, that's fine. But let's talk about it. The podcast. We're going to dive into life's big questions, share stories, and explore ways to live our best lives. I am your host, Queen, and I am thrilled to be on this journey with you. Today, we have a special treat for you, a wonderful guest who, just like all of us, is an average guy enjoying reading and applying what he learned from the book, How to Stop Worrying and Start Living, to his everyday life. So grab a cup of tea, find a cozy spot, and let's dive in. I am so excited to introduce our special guest today. He's an average guy who enjoys reading and applying the lessons from personal development books to his everyday life. Please welcome my best friend, The Difference.
Ooh, yeah. Hey, thanks, Wayne, for having me on your platform, especially on your first episode. Congratulations. How
Thank you.
you
Appreciate that. Now, Difference, my bestie. Before we jump into how to stop worrying and start living, can you share a bit about your journey on how you found yourself diving into personal development books?
Well, I wouldn't say it was like once in a blue moon, but I'd say it was about 13 years ago. And you know, we're just living this road of life, just getting up, going to work, coming home, repeat, repeat. And with life, like everyone goes through. Uh, they tend to have issues, along the way, and
Right.
I know everyone has issues, and sometimes when you put an issue aside, you gain another issue, and it starts piling and piling and piling, and you start worrying, and this takes a toll on you.
Mm-hmm.
How can you get this done? Uh, I was supposed to finish this by yesterday,
Yeah.
but now it's due tomorrow, and I can't get this done because it's due today. So uh, it sets back, it sets you back, not days, but it'll set you back a week, and it takes a toll on your pretty much your mental capacity, and it tends to just be a distraction in life, with family.
Right.
And I've come across it, for quite some time, and it wasn't the pretty much the first book I read from Dale Carnegie, and
Uh-huh.
Dale Carnegie his books were pretty much way ahead of their time. It was around decades ago,
Yeah.
and one of his other books, How to Win Friends and Influence People, it's a great read. It's been used by a lot of corporations, businesses, entrepreneurs, and startup businesses. Uh, at my current employer, they're handing out books to supervisors, and but this one particular book, how to uh, how to stop worrying and start living, it just caught my eye. So it was something that was recommended by I had I'd say a life coach,
Yeah.
mentor, a very good friend, and when I dived when I dived into it, it just pretty much helped me just handle the stress of worrying, because people always think that worrying is something like a psychological thing, but worrying can also affect your health, and it's a proven fact. Studies were made decades ago about it, and it's affected people's health because of the worry that they've gone through in life. So uh, it's a book that I'm kind of guilty of it. I did go back as reference, like every month, just to
Uh-huh.
look into it to see where I'm failing at. And uh, it was great to dive back into the book recently, and it's something that I try to leave on top, or the stack of other books I have, because it's the go-to book, the grab, because that's the only thing I see right there at top, right next to the Holy Bible. Mhm.
That's awesome because books are important. Um, I prefer to have books available also right next, on my desk and, a little bookshelf. And like you said, it's good to go back to reference everyday life because remember guys, we're not professionals here. We're not psychologists or we're not therapists. We're just two folks who love to read books and we always tend like what the difference just said, go back and reference the book because sometimes you just get so busy and then life takes its toll and worrying is it's what's happening every day, especially now during the holidays. Correct? Difference. I mean, people are worried about today's meal, um tomorrow's dinner, uh, and worried about the past, and just keep thinking about it. And the more you think about it, that causes, worrying and then equals stress. And like you said, there are data and statistics on it. But again, we're not professionals. We're just here to share our insights um, about this book by Dale Carnegie and how to stop worrying and start living. It's an impactful book, and I've used it in my life too. Sometimes I forget about it, but if it's there and you think about it, and I'm so glad I'm starting this journey, with everyone that's listening right now, is to get me back into going to my resources, read the books, and start applying it because it's important to apply what you read. Right? Difference.
Oh yeah. You made a good point that how people, they worry about pretty much everything, every day. But in the book, it starts off, the first lesson, and there's a quote from Thomas Carlyle, and it goes, "Our main business is not to see what lies dimly at a distance, but to do what lies clearly at hand." And what he means by that, it's well. Actually, I'm going to go back a little back on that. Sir William Osler, uh, when he read that, those 21 words, it changed his life.
Mm,
And what Sir William Osler did was, he was a very renowned doctor. He's from the U.S. He's taught at multiple universities. Uh, was over at Oxford in London, and he was knighted by the king. So that's where he got his sir from. But uh, what he meant by that, he came up with a term called day tight compartments. And, you know, people, they tend to worry about things, oh, this day, that day, they have their 7 day work week or personal life, planned out.
correct.
And they try to crunch everything up. This is what we're gonna do here. This is what we're gonna do the next day. This is what we're gonna do that day. Well, that's fine. If you have a calendar, you do that. Okay, cool. Good for you. But what he meant by daytime compartments is that what Thomas Carlyle said. I'm gonna read it one more time. Our main business is not to see what lies dimly at a distance, but to do what lies clearly at hand. So whatever you control that's in front of you, and that's today.
Hmm.
Don't worry about yesterday. Yesterday is gone. It's dead. Bury it. Don't worry about tomorrow. Just worry about today. Living intentionally. You know, just focus at what is at hand. What you need to do it one step at a time and focus what you can control. Just revel for one day, and that is today, not yesterday or tomorrow. You know, and just if you can do that or those multiple things, just like the analogy of an hourglass. You got all the grains, at the top, and it's just slowly just funneling itself through. You know, just picture all those grains as all the tasks that you have at hand, all
Yeah.
the chores. Say, get up, you get the kids ready, go to work, pick up the kids, go grocery shop, dinner. You know, you're pretty much in that mindset where you have to get all this done. Yeah, sure. It's part of life. That's a habit that you created for yourself.
Hmm.
And if you're trying to just cram everything all at once, you just have to take a step back, just breathe, just slowly do one task at a time. Those grains of sands just gonna slowly drop through, and you just have to think about it and just, don't let it control you. I used to always, just going to work and see people running, just running, speed walking, 'cause trying to beat the time clock. And I always tell myself that I don't revolve myself around time. Time revolves around me. So I take my time getting in there, getting there in a timely manner. And I feel more relieved that way. And normally, it'll be like 7 minutes. I'm 7 minutes away from the time clock,
Right.
and I start in 7 minutes. But I still tell myself, time doesn't. I mean, I don't revolve around time. Time revolves around me, and that puts me at ease. And lo and behold, I took my time getting that time clock, and I clocked it right there on the dot. And I just kind of like chuckled to myself, like, man, these guys are sure in a rut. They're sure worried about being late, but they make
Let
that
time
time.
control them.
Yeah, and that's always been a thing for me every day. It's not like I'm, if I was to revolve around time, then that means I'm over there trying to defuse a bomb. But that that that's never going to happen.
Right.
So like, it's the same thing. What people are doing. Like when you think about that article, I saw people are multitasking, and my opinion is that multitasking is a myth. It's it's bullshit. Well, I'm sorry for cursing, but
Yeah, that's
hey,
okay.
it is.
Mhm.
And people need to do is just create good habits. Do something good for someone. Just once a day. You know, it'll make you feel good. It'll make that person feel good too, knowing that he looks at you, being an awesome individual. Be impact on someone. Be a positive impact. I mean,
Yeah.
but try to do one good thing a day.
I want to touch a little bit on you mentioned and I love it, living in today, living with what you can control within your means.
Hmm.
You know, the past. We just got to learn from our past, and reading this book, it helped me learn about it. Whatever I cannot control, I have to learn how to just leave it there, but learn from it. And then,
Yeah, there's nothing from
yeah,
learning from the past or your past mistakes.
right.
That's
And
all.
then yeah, and
But
then the future.
like Thomas Edison, it took him 1,000 times before he got that one light bulb to work.
There we go. There we go,
You know,
guys.
there's a you can't have success without failure. The only success is our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. That's the only success without failure, right there. But in our world, on this planet, people always say that that guy's a failure. He's failed multiple times. Okay, he's failed multiple times with that day, but I see as a success that he hasn't given up.
Right. And then from the past, learning from it, and then you just focus on today, the present, because you're in
Mhm.
that time.
Yeah, that's what you can control is
Mhm.
today.
Because we can't control tomorrow. Tomorrow's never promised. A lot of people say that, but do you really understand what you're saying? Tomorrow's not promised. So what are you doing today to make today valuable for you? What are your thoughts about how a lot of people worry about being perfectionists? What do you think of that word perfectionist? Someone, always trying to be a perfectionist.
They're frauds.
Why you say that?
They're just frauds. You just do the best that you can. You know, don't try to be a perfectionist. But I'm saying that it's all right. You can try, but just do it with good intention. Just do a superb job at what you're doing. Like I said, I'm going to bring up our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. That's perfect right there.
There we go, guys. So back to the book. Can you share a practical tip or principle that has made a significant impact on your daily life? Something our listeners can apply right away?
So the tips I've taken, the techniques that the author laid out was three questions you ask yourself when you come across that worry, and the first question is what you ask yourself is, what is the worst that can possibly happen?
I like that one.
That's number one.
Yes. Hmm.
That's number one. You just say that, hey, you made a big mistake, and you're worried that if you tell the boss, he might fire you. Okay, yeah, that's possibly that might happen, but you're gonna be honest about it. But then number two, you want to prepare to accept it, if you have it. So prepare to accept the consequences, but at the same time, you're feeling good about yourself by telling your boss about you did a boohoo, on something and all that. And third, you just kind of like receive and improve on that worst. So I ask myself those questions every time when I worry. I said, "Oh, okay, man." And when we get pulled over, you know, speeding and all that, you know, well, I accept it.
Hmm.
I'm gonna face the consequences. That'll put me at ease because you're accepting your fault. You know, and then after that, just like, hey, okay, hey, Officer Frank, you know, I apologize for speeding. I'll try to make sure it doesn't happen again. Good. Here's my credentials. Give me my ticket and let me be about my way, and that's it. I feel you know, a lot stressed about it. I'll be happy that it went smoothly.
Right. Those are good three good questions. And I remember myself when this is crazy. When my mother passed away, I asked myself, because I just remember what's the worst can happen. I was like, the worst already happened. So what you gonna do about it now? That was actually the question that went through my mind going through those times. And all I can answer was, you're still here. You're living, so what are you gonna do? And it was a stressful time. I guess it was just grieving moment, but it also kind of calmed me down to know that, I'm still here and I need to live my life to the fullest. Just enjoying life, which made me change a whole lot perspective on the things I was doing, regarding the job and so forth. Um, Made me realize that, girl, you need to get your life in order and start spending more time, with family and, because, you get caught
You,
up in life. You worry about things,
you,
you travel a
you,
lot.
you're worried about how much it's going to cost. Does my mom have life insurance? And well, you weren't the only one going through that worry. You had a good family support, and I know you had an awesome husband. To be there for you. So
Yes, my husband is great.
I know I met that guy. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, so those three questions are very valuable, guys. Again, what we say on here, I have to reiterate this all the time. This is just our personal opinion, okay? So if you like to comment, have any questions, and talk with us, go ahead and subscribe and just put the comments down there in the box. But this is a great conversation. Are you having a good time? The difference? Are you having a good time?
Oh yeah, we're here to make a difference.
Amen to that. Amen to that.
So another thing is about worrying. We talked about how worry could it can also affect your overall health, and it has been proven, and not just psychologists, but medical doctors say the same thing. And the moment that you put that worry aside, somebody's like, going through a phase, well, not a phase, but going through some medical issues and all that.
Hmm.
Not sure how long you're going to live, but I remember reading a book where this particular individual that didn't have long to live, because he worried, his business went under, and what he did was that told himself, you know what, I'd love to travel the world, and that's what he did. And it's kind of funny when just reading that little paragraph in the book where he told his doctors that he was going to travel overseas, and they said,
Right,
"This
right.
is yeah," and he said that well, and he even took his coffin with him and had all the arrangements made that if he died out at sea, that the ship would come back at port, and his family would wait for his coffin.
Mhm.
So this guy was out there, and he started, like I said, you have to live intentionally, and he started to live intentionally on a ship, met new friends. He didn't worry about his health anymore because he was having such a great time. Went to the Orient. He gained, well, before all that was out, he lost close to 100 pounds, and he gained back 100 pounds. And it was a testament right there that worry was pretty much like a chronic disease. Not just for him, for anyone. Read countless of stories within the book that folks have they've changed their lives when they've asked themselves those three questions, and they just went forward with it. It's like Charlie Mike. Continue mission. It's just
Yeah.
a great feeling where I've had health issues, and I've told myself countless of times, and I would fall back into it. And there was one breaking point where I just told myself, you know what, if you want to get away from this, I was just worrying about not just my health, but my family around me, couldn't have them take care of me,
Right.
it'd be shameful because I'm the man of the house. And what I did was put my foot down and just remember those, just those three questions, and take it upon myself to, you can correct it yourself. It's just, I wouldn't say it's sheer will, but you just have to do it, and you just have to put your trust in God's hands, and he'll meet you halfway, and you just have to do your part, to honor that.
Right. So, you know how words are powerful, correct?
Mhm.
You mentioned a couple of times, and I think that just probably went over some of our listeners' head, but I know it used to go over my head until I understand the word. But just by learning, you use the word living intentionally. Can you just speak a little bit more on that? Living intentionally.
Living intentionally, go out there. I used to always tell myself, just example, I go to work, and I always tell myself that, I'm gonna go out there and make a difference. I'm gonna go out there and make a difference.
Hmm.
And just going out there, you may not think that you're making a difference, uh, but people see it, and it feels good that they notice it. And living intentionally is just going out there, living life uh, the way you feel, that makes you feel comfortable. Don't go out there, with the intention of, you know, uh, I'm making this intention of going out there to uh, be a dick to everyone, or I'm going out there to hurt people, or I'm going out
Right.
there, you know, go out there living intentionally is going out there and being an impact on, not just yourself, but being an impact, in other people's lives. And, you know, you look at people, when you invest in people, you show them that you care, that you're sincere about, helping them out, that's another way of living intentionally. Living intentionally is, you know, it's pretty much you've living a worry free life. You have no worry in the world, and you just go out there and you just grab the bull by the horns, and to show them that, hey man, I got this armor on. You're not boasting, you're not bragging, but you just show them that you have that confidence.
And there is
Other
a book out
other
there.
terms these days they call it the swagger, but
Yeah, because there is a book out there, Living Intentionally, correct?
Mhm.
Yeah, that's another great book. I think is that's the one from John C. Maxwell.
Yes,
Yeah.
the great John C. Maxwell, the
Oh, yeah.
leadership.
Well, that's another podcast, another episode.
Yeah, I got that book signed by him.
Um, it's the holidays, right? And I'm sure a lot of people are just stressing. Listeners, I know you guys probably stress about the gifts, what to eat, and so forth, and and I hope some of the stuff we're talking about, you don't have to do whatever, it's a choice. When I say a choice, it's up to you. Only you can make a difference. Um, what do you think about making those choices, Mr. Difference?
Choices as in what?
Just choices making a difference to apply what you learn,
Oh,
what I've
since the holidays around the corner. Okay,
yeah.
yeah. That's I would say that's not so much of a worry, but I don't want to bring this up. It's what I'm going to say is not going to be political, but it's just the economy that we're in right now. It's we see it. People you probably hear on the news, other social media platforms like X, formerly Twitter, where they talk about how the economy is doing all right, and just if it's doing all right, why is you know number one at McDonald's costing me $12, which I don't really eat fast food, but I'm guilty that I just had it not too long ago. But yeah,
That's why
Bidenomics
you
is
know it costs $12. Okay, go ahead.
it is hurting inflation, global inflation. I've got statistics on global inflation. It's not affecting here, within the U.S., but it's affecting everyone globally, and um, it's kind of ass backwards how people are complaining about, they're not making enough money, but they're still willing to go buy those $300 shoes. They're still willing to buy expensive things, and they're not looking at the wants and the needs. I mean, they look at the want, but they're neglecting the need.
Mhm.
So uh, that worry is for families is, yeah, provide. If you're a man of the house or the woman of the house, you become the provider. And to me, the need outweighs the haves, because your children may want an Xbox or a PS5, but you only have enough to buy certain things. You have to provide, you know, pay mortgage, rent. You have to have a roof over your head, and most one of the top essential things is food. To feed your family. But your kid is knocking on the door wanting the PS5, which costs, well, I don't know, I think in the range of $400 to $500. Well, now you're weighing the haves over the needs, and the moment you get that, you know, and then worry starts to kick in. I said, okay, now I can't pay the electricity bills. I can't pay for food, because I bought little Frankie a PS5. Well, dummy, that was your fault, because you weighed the haves over the needs.
Right.
And and to me, that's a personal choice that these people make. I hope they can make the right choices. You know, if you have to eat top ramen, then so be it. If you're gonna get that PS5, top ramen for Christmas, I don't find it a problem with me, but it's not going to sit well with families and a can of spam.
With a little seaweed on the side, or a little
Yeah.
drop an egg inside.
No, no, no. They don't want to drop an egg inside because they need to save an egg for the next day. Oh,
Yeah,
no, no spam. Tonight, top ramen. Tomorrow, spam. And the next
spam
day,
Asian rice.
no. They're trying to streamline. Or now go out eating grass. There's grass everywhere in the Pacific Northwest.
So yeah, you can have fun with it, and it's hard. It's easy to say, stop stressing and stop worrying. Um, but this book has really been have a big impact. I mean, we're just talking. We haven't even like covered. We just covered like maybe two little things about it because this book covers a lot of areas.
Oh yeah, it's. I think it's pretty much part one that we're discussing of
Yeah.
the book. This part might be just part one of your podcast. You might have to invite me on next month to go on with part two.
What do you mean next month? It could be next week. We gotta keep talking. Because this is let's
Now,
talk about study.
people, no, people need to they need to create habits. It takes about an average of 60 days, to create that habit. So that's what we're doing. We're helping them create a small habit, one step at a time.
You know what? That's true. Because we all need to create habits, and every journey begins with a single step. Is that correct?
Yes, I totally agree. I concur.
Well, I concur too. But still, you can still come on another segment and do another book review until we get back in the next month and see who's been listening.
I can't wait to do a book review on the last book I read.
What's the last book you read? Maybe that's a sneak preview.
Uh, huh? Well, it's from Mark Levin. It's how the Democrat Party hates America. But
Hey guys, these guys aren't sponsoring us. We're just mentioning the book, but we would love to have some sponsors for Let's Talk About It. The wefobz. Oh, you're too much. You crack me up. Any other thoughts on what you want to share with our listeners about this book? Um, and even about the author Dale Carnegie. You mentioned a little bit something that about his other book.
yeah, the other book, How to Win Friends and Influence People.
Yes, that's another great book.
Hmm. Well, he also has one that I've read years back, and it's how to develop self confidence and influence people by public speaking. So he goes on about public speaking, and it just gives you tips on how to get over that hill. That stage fright.
Yeah.
Because people, when they get in front of an audience, you tend to freeze up. So he's come across some, he has some great books out there, but these are my top two from Dale Carnegie: is How to Stop Worrying and Start Living, and How to Win Friends and Influence People. And if anyone's been a fan of John Wooden, it was a it was a great coach, for UCLA. So he has some great leadership books out there, some good how'd you say, personal, you know, development books, self growth books. I would say.
Uh-huh.
I don't like saying personal development. Self growth is pretty much something I use with some of the books I read. From Napoleon Hill to Zig Ziglar, John C. Maxwell, of course,
Hmm.
and Brene Brown has some excellent books.
Yes. I like that term you use self growth instead of self help.
Mhm.
Help sounds a little dire, a little like an
Yeah,
emergency, but growth that does resonate very well.
yeah. You're never too old to read it. It's always good to for folks our age. You can still read it and still apply it into your everyday life, and it. it's always a good thing to go back and reference it.
This book and the one you mentioned earlier, How to Win Friends and Influence, How to Win and Influence Friends. Oh my gosh, I'm just butchering
Everyone
it.
friends and influence them.
Yeah, there
Hmm.
we go. You know, like you say, you're never too old. Every generation can read these books because um, you can apply it to your everyday life. Like earlier, we talked about it's about focusing on the present moment and not letting past mistakes or future uncertainties consume us by basically concentrating on the task at hand. That's the present and tackling one thing at a time. You mentioned that, and that's what the book was talking about. It can help us. We can reduce anxiety and find more joy in our daily lives if we just apply these simple things that we read in the book. We read it. So, and when you drop the ball by not applying, you already know it, but you just don't do it. Then that I'm just speaking from personal experience. It's just you start losing touch of what's really going on with your own life. You feel like it's getting out of control because you don't have a grasp. But I like that we're talking about this because you can bring it back. And you mentioned earlier also about living, compartmentalize everything.
Day type compartments. Just living for that moment, that time, that day. Today, not tomorrow, not yesterday.
Yeah. I mean, that's the best way to look at it, with everything that's going on. We're ending the year 2023, guys. And I mean, this is an absolute great time to start, reevaluating, you know, my life. I'm not saying telling you guys what to do, but this is a great time to start. You know, uh refocus for 2024 and see how you can do better with 2023. Just look at it from January all the way to now. We're in December already, mid-December. Christmas is right around it's December, first week of December or whatever. Christmas is right around the corner. Isn't this, do you not agree, Mr. Difference, that this is a great time to take evaluation of reevaluate on
Oh, oh yeah. You know, it's a great time to start reevaluating. I mean, reevaluating yourself. I mentioned it before about you know getting your vertical alignment, in order, and just uh, just looking back at not just this year, but just looking back, what you could have did, you know, to make a change. And
yeah,
today's that day where you decide to make that change, and start with those three principal questions that I've mentioned. I'm just gonna pretty much probably end it with this, from another quote from Dr. Alexis Carrel, and she says, "Those who do not know how to fight worry, they die young. And if you don't take that fight to it, I'm 27, 28 years young. Wink, wink, nod, nod. We're young. We're not
oh
20,
my Lanta.
28 years old, 28 years young. And if
let's
you
let's
don't
let's
fight,
rewind back. Let's rewind a little bit. You just breeze right through it, and probably nobody understand what you just mentioned about. Emphasize a little bit on vertical alignment. That's important. I know what it means. What you're talking about. What are you talking about? Explain to our listeners. Vertical alignment. Getting that straight.
getting your vertical alignment, it includes family. Get your family right. Get yourself right. I mean, well, let's get yourself right, then get your family right. Uh, getting right with God and getting right with life. Everything that's around you. Come through that rut of life, and getting some of those. Well, that's my take on it,
Okay.
Queen. Okay, that's my take on it.
Okay.
So That's what I mean with my vertical alignment. You know, my
That's your vertical
your true,
alignment. Yep.
your true north. You know, with yourself, with God, and with family.
Yep. So, listeners, what is your true north? Do you have your vertical alignment? Now, it sounds like Mr. Difference already made his last quote. So remember, by embracing the present moment, practicing gratitude, this is all we talked about, and taking small positive steps, we can transform our lives. It's about cultivating a mindset of resilience and choosing joy over worry. Any last thoughts, Mr. Difference, before we close this out? Because it sounds like you have closed it for me, but the Queen has not said we're going to close it. So I'm going to give you an opportunity.
I apologize, Your Majesty. But my final thoughts for everyone out there: don't let worry be the end of you. Fight it. Take those 3 questions, to heart. Just ask yourself, what's the worst that could possibly happen, and prepare to accept it, and just proceed to improve on it. Just think about it. That's about it for me.
Man, I truly appreciate you, The Difference. Thank you so much for joining us today and sharing your insights. And to our listeners, thank you for tuning in to the first episode of Let's Talk About It. Or you can say my second episode, but I'm going to say my first episode because we have our special guest. He first introduced himself to me as the best friend, so he's my best friend, and now he is here, The Difference, to make a difference. So remember,
let's go out there and make a difference.
Let's go out there and make a difference. We're all in this together. And until next time, stay inspired, keep learning, and keep the conversation going. And shout out to my whyuce, Brother Punimore, his podcast, and especially the WEFOBZ Enterprise. All right, that's it. That's all from Let's Talk About It. And I'm your host, the Queen.
All hail the Queen.